In this podcast, we chat about the defeat to Huddersfield, look ahead to Burnley, what we've been up to during the international break, and answer your podcast questions. This is the Boro Breakdown podcast, and this is like a Boro Matchday chatter in a pod.
Support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Ravanelli coming alive again. Juninho wants the ball played to him. Ravanelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with Johnny, Dana and Tom. We have the Boro podcast that gives you all of your Boro Matchday chatter in a podcast. And Boro had a bitter defeat at the John Smiths in a 4-2 defeat against Huddersfield. Neil Warnock has now won 11 games out of 13 as a manager against Middlesbrough. That is just fun, isn't it? We've been Warnocked once again. Dana Malt, how are you feeling about Boro being Warnocked in 3 words?
What the hell? That's probably the best way to start this podcast. It was just so out of character for Boro to capitulate the way that they did in that second half. And I've probably woken up a lot more negatively than I went to bed. I felt quite positive still yesterday, appreciating our position, appreciating that we're still in the playoffs, of course, and that we are still in a healthy way in the championship. But yeah, I've just woke up really disappointed because we never had second place in our possession, so you can't say that we've thrown it away. But we have shut the door on ourselves completely against a side that are in the bottom 3 and that have been struggling all season. And I think Huddersfield fans can appreciate that they have been poor. This isn't 10 games in and that, Huddersfield are just starting to get up to speed. They've never got up to speed this season. And we basically... we capitulated and broke our quest for second place in the spell of 15 minutes against the side in the bottom 3. That's what's really disappointing. Just a really, really strange, bizarre game that pretty much summed up the championship. And yeah, if only we could turn back time and start that again. I think we'd all love to do that.
You had a lot of song catchphrases in there, and then he even introduced Carrick to, like Tom did last week.
I did.
And you called him out for it, so I'm going to call you out for it as well. Tom, Dana says, what the hell? What are you going to go with?
I had a lot of very similar 3-word phrases for this, but I'm just going to say where we got FM'd because it's exactly the type of thing that would happen in Footy Manager. You're doing so well, beat Preston 4-0 at home, go on an international break and then lose 4-2 to Huddersfield. You'd just be thinking, no, the game's having me on here, it's scripted, I'm just going to restart it or something like that. But I mean, especially after that first goal as well, just every bounce on the way to that first goal went to them, and you'd be looking at that thinking, that scripted, turn it off. But yeah, it was just weird to watch yesterday. I think a 4-1, as soon as that fourth goal went in, I'm just like, what am I watching here? Because this isn't us. And literally, I can't remember a goal of theirs with, like, I mean, there might have been, I've just tried to block it out of my memory probably, but they all just seemed really scrappy and not like us to concede at all.
Yeah, it was a strange game, wasn't it? I think that's the reason why I want to go over the words of moments of madness. It was just 15, 20 minutes of just carnage, and it's not the first time we've kind of seen this really either. Burnley, we kind of capitulated in like 15 minutes, with it was like 2 goals in 5 minutes against West Brom. Now this, and I think Sunderland was a bit strange because we had some moments where we had like a red card and conceded and threw games away. So very strange because we're a team that has a lot of control and very good control, but I would suspect a couple of mad off it moments, really, isn't it? But that is football, and I can't believe he's done us over it again. I am sick of Neil Warnock managing against us and beating us, and he'll probably love that. But anyway, let's chat about the game then, where Boro tasted defeat at the John Smiths. And we made a couple of changes to the side that beat Preston with McNair and Force coming in for McGree and Fry. I want to chat about this first because there was a lot of clamour before the game around the changes that we made. But Tom, do you think Carrick was right to make the changes he did yesterday?
In the case of McGree, I'd say definitely. He's been on international break in Australia. He was ill for a lot of that. Played one game, and then I believe it was only Wednesday night he'd got back from Australia, which like massively long flight. I've been to New Zealand. I know the jet lag firsthand there, so I can't imagine what two in the space of like a week and a half for McGree's done, but. It's probably the type of situation where we can't just go straight into a team on Saturday. Probably leaving him on the bench and going with Force and Ramsey, the right call. When I saw that on the team sheet for the starting 11, didn't have a problem with that at all. I thought Force is still a good option on the right and has been playing a lot of games for us. Got a goal yesterday. He's done well. Ramsey on the left. Yeah, it seems like a good decision. Fry out from McNair, sorry, I didn't particularly want to see. And I feel like that has had an effect on some of the goals we conceded yesterday and the way that Huddersfield were trying to play. They were very physical, and I thought Lenihan, for the most part, held up against that, but it would have been nice to have that sort of strength against a physical team across the back line fully. And I don't think McNair brings to the table the same thing that Fry does play in that position.
Yeah, and speaking of the Fry and McNair debate, really, obviously McNair's getting a lot of clamour at the moment, Dana. But why do you think he is getting that Tav treatment at the minute? It's a bit strange, isn't it? But I mean, why do you think we're starting to see that? And also, who would you like to see fill in at centre half?
Yes. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. It's interesting with McNair, isn't it? Because it really doesn't feel like that long ago that he was lauded as one of Boro's best. And I think it shows how much football can change. For me, I think with Tav, I think he was misunderstood. With McNair, he's just not playing in his best position. I've said on this podcast for many, many years that Paddy McNair is best in a back three and not so good in a back four, because I think under Warnock in that 2021 season, towards the back end, I did identify a few weaknesses in his game, and it's specifically defensively one-on-one and from balls over the top. He looks very uncomfortable from balls over the top. I think we saw that yesterday against Huddersfield, where they were punting balls towards Danny Ward to basically call Paddy McNair into action. And there were a few times where he undersold a heady clearance, and I think he tried to get it to either Stefan or Smith. It went out wide, and thankfully it was in a position that Boro were able to defend comfortably. Yeah, I just don't think he's as good or as strong in a back four as he is in a back three. But it is interesting with McNair because the reaction to him yesterday, it would have you believe, if you were an alien and you'd just been plonked on Earth, that Paddy McNair has been shocking whenever he's stood in for Dale Fry this season. That's just not the case. For a while before yesterday, whenever Paddy McNair was in the team, he was okay. He was good. He was decent. He didn't really put too much of a foot wrong. He was poor yesterday, and I will say that. I can't stress that enough. But I just don't think, going back to the main question, that he's as good in a back four as he is in a back three. And to answer your other question, I would love to see Dale Fry start the majority of games because I think he's our best defender. But football, isn't it? Opinions can change. All of a sudden, Paddy McNair's gone from one of our best players to get him out of the team, get him out of the squad. He's disgusting, disgraceful. He stinks. This, that, and the other. It's ridiculous. But I've never been a huge, huge fan of McNair, even when others were. But even I am thinking, okay, this is a bit, the criticism, I think, is blown out of proportion just a bit, I think.
Just want to add on to that as well, because we've been switching between Fry and McNair in some games. Personally, I'm not a fan of switching a winning team, but I do feel like we've gone tactically with that decision a few times, and where we might require a more mobile centre half. McNair's played, and where we've required a stronger one. Fry's played. maybe I think that was just the wrong call yesterday, and we should have went with a stronger centre half rather than a mobile one. Because as Dan has just said there, McNair has filled in at centre back and done well. I think especially since Fry got sent off against Sunderland and McNair's taken his chance. I would agree that he's not playing in his best position as part of a back four, but I just feel like it was maybe a tactical decision yesterday, and it was just the wrong one.
I just want to say as well that, I said this on Tees after the game. The reason why we lost that game yesterday was not down to Paddy McNair. He was part of the reason, but he wasn't the reason. This was a sort of collective issue yesterday. There were so many mistakes. You look at the first goal, you look at the second goal, the first two goals in particular. It was ridiculous the way that Huddersfield was skipping past our players as if they weren't even there. The first one, Josh Ruffles just hooks a ball straight over Housen's shoulder, then evades the sort of half challenge of three players. It was Hackney, Lenihan and McNair himself. Then the second one, it's Johnny House who just skips over him. I think it's Danny Ward that carries the ball, and then Josh Koroma uses Tommy Smith as a bit of a dummy and then curls it beyond him and Stefan. It was just collectively, Boro were not good enough. And I think to hone in on McNair specifically, I think is just unfair.
So, well, yeah. So with McNair, then I appreciate he appreciates getting a lot of the clamour, and I can understand the frustrations of it. I can also see why Carrick would maybe play more of a Fry. I think Dale Fry, and it's weird as it sounds. I know when Dale Fry came through, everyone thought he was a really good ball playing centre half at times, but this is just not the case. He's definitely not a good ball playing centre half. I think if Boro are looking to have more possession and trying to play out from the back more, McNair kind of makes sense because Lenihan can't do it as well as probably what McNair can. And McNair's got all the attributes of a midfielder. And it makes sense if Boro are going to try and play that three at the back at times. When we push forward with Giles, we'll come into a three, and then if we want to switch the play and try and come back out again. McNair makes a lot of sense, but I think against teams that are a bit more direct, then Fry would probably be more of the option because he kind of nullify what they want to bring. But I can't really complain too much because, it has a pro and a con, right? Stefan is a prime example. Stefan does a lot for us, the way we play. But then he also has a negative side to his game. Ryan Giles, amazing going forward. Is he the best defender in the world? Possibly not. But what he brings to the table is a lot better than what his negative is. Johnny Houston, is Houston the best passer of the ball? Probably not. But does he bring everything else to the game? Yes. In terms of defensive actions, all that kind of stuff. So there's pros and cons to everything and everyone in a player. Even if you're going to go talk about Trent as well at Liverpool, Trent, unreal player. Really good crosser, suspect defending. There's just pros and cons, right? Isn't there? So either or, who do you want to see? Who gives us more balance? Who gives us more, makes us more safe? Probably Fry would make us more safe, but what do we take away if McNair's not in the team? Are we confident of playing the ball out and coming out with the ball? I don't know.
That's a good point. That is a good point, though, and I sort of noted it yesterday that because Huddersfield were so deep, and they had every right to be deep. They had every right to set up in a defensive formation where Brady was talking about the defensive wing backs and the back five. I think maybe Carrick identified that was going to be the case, that Boro would have control as we did in the first half. And you saw quite a lot of times, this ended up being Boro's weakness in the game yesterday. Lenihan driving forward. We got caught so many times with that long ball over the top where he was constantly chasing back. Maybe Carrick identified that the way the game was going to pan out, it needed a ball playing defender to potentially carry the ball and offer another option. As you said there, Johnny, Dale Fry's not a ball carrier, and also Paddy McNair has a decent pass on him. Maybe Paddy McNair was in that team yesterday just to offer a different option to open up what Carrick probably thought was going to be a really stubborn defence, as it was in that first half. So maybe that's why he was tasked with starting ahead of Fry as well.
Yeah, and you could see if you're going to have a lot of possession, you can allow McNair to kind of be in the midfield rather than Lenihan, and just keep have a 1v1 with Lenihan, and also keep Smith back if you want to, and then just overpower the midfield. So then it allows Akpom to get a bit further forward, it allows Housen to get moved a bit further, or Hackney or whatever, and that might tweak the game ever so much, and it worked for the first half. Really, when the second half we combusted, and things just didn't really work out the way it should have been. But how would you assess things, Dana? Because the first half was great, and the second half was madness.
Well, you know what? I don't think the second half was particularly great, but we had control, which was the main thing. And I honestly thought the way that the game was ticking over, that it was going to be one of those where Huddersfield would remain quite tight, quite compact. They would limit the space, limit the opportunities, and that Boro would eventually break through in the second half. So when we got that first goal, I was like, brilliant. Really opens it up. You kind of then take in more of Boro's dominance to Huddersfield, and I thought they were going to be the ones to capitulate. I was sat there talking to my dad at half time, wondering how many we're going to put past these. Because think about it, Huddersfield, really poor form, really poor team this season. Huddersfield fans will tell you that themselves. And complete contrast to Middlesbrough, who, ourselves, we've been fantastic under Michael Carrick and we're very good goal scorers. So that's what I was thinking. And then I honestly do not know what happened. We were the ones that capitulated, but I still can't wrap my head around what we were witnessing in that second half. It was just so strange. And I will say that if you look at Boro under Michael Carrick in a wider lens, we have been good and very good more times than we've even been average. But I have to call it what it was. That was embarrassing yesterday. It was. To be 4-1 down to Huddersfield, who have never scored 4 this season until yesterday, had only scored 3 goals in a game twice this season. And it could have been 5. Jack Radoni had a chance where I honestly thought he was going in. I think it just shaved the outside of the post. We could have conceded 5 yesterday against Huddersfield. That was embarrassing. It was uncomfortable to watch at times, I have to say that, but I don't know. Was it the sort of mentality in the second half? I feel like Carrick insinuated it after the game that maybe they were a little bit panicked and that it took them until after the goals had gone in to fully realise what had happened. It felt like Huddersfield kind of had us by a chokehold. I just can't, analysis is going to be very limited today because I'm confused. I'm still just really, really confused. It was out of character. It was just not like Middlesbrough. It was just really baffling, bewildering. That's, a few buzzwords, I think, to describe that game yesterday.
On the flip side, Tom, in that first half, do you think we could have probably could have and should have put the game in bed? Because we had a lot of chances, right? Or a lot of half chances.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't remember a lot of good quality chances. I think we had a few shots on target, but they were from outside the box. And I would say as well, I agree with Dana that I don't think it was particularly good performance anyway in the first half. What I'd noticed in the first half was that the sharpness that we had against Preston and in earlier games seems to have just gone away a little bit over the international break, which I think is the effect that we were all hoping wouldn't happen. But there were passes which were like a yard behind the intended target, or too far in front at times. It wasn't the same Boro that we saw against Preston, and it was sickening for me yesterday because I've just watched my rugby league team, 12:30 kickoff do exactly the same thing. Actually, not exactly the same thing. Worse, playing it about throwing the 10 yards behind the intended target. But it was, not a good day for sports for me yesterday, and then Verstappen's won this morning. So I'm hating everything at the moment. But yeah, we had a few kind of half chances in the first half, but I don't think we were good enough to say we should have put it to bed in that half. Force got the goal in the 43rd minute, and I had the same conversation with my uncle that Dana's just said she had with her dad at half time. We were like, right, we're 1-0 up now. Huddersfield are going to have to open up a little bit, not sit as defensively. We'll get a few more here. And then, 20 seconds into the second half, they just get, every bounce going to their player on the way to a goal. And then just couldn't tell you what happened after that. Just, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you what happened in the second half, to be honest, Tom. But
Who knows? Who
if
knows?
if anyone knows, do you think it was like maybe a thing that Warnock changed at halftime? And I know, appreciate you will say that he turned water into wine. He brought Jesus back and all this kind of stuff. Like I don't know. Well, he just does these stupid things. I just don't get it. I just don't get how we kind of we gave the game away. But do you think it was just mainly down to Boro's mistakes? Really, I think it definitely felt that way anyway.
Yeah, I think it was. And like I said, we had this game plan of possession dominance, which is what we've seen under Michael Carrick. But the risk of it is that we are susceptible to a counter attack, a ball over the top, such as our quite high line at times. And we just got caught out. Look at the first two goals and look at us desperately trying to get back into a defensive position that is of comfort to us. It was just, as you've said, Johnny, and Carrick said it himself, moments decided that game. I don't think anyone can say that Huddersfield were great or good, but they took their chances and Boro didn't, and Boro gifted them those chances. And I don't think it was anything really that Warnock did, because we conceded within 20 seconds, of the restart, which that probably knocked our confidence a bit. But I still believe that we could get back into the game because of how good we've been in terms of goal scoring. And then even when the second one went in and we're losing 2-1, I still thought we could do it. It was that third one that killed it for me. Before the fourth one even went in, the third one was where we're massively scaling it back to like climbing a mountain sort of territory. Warnock will say that he did something. Of course he will. He said that it's one of the best results of his career. Of course, he'd say that as well. But I think it was literally just Boro. It was very Sideshow Bob and a rake kind of situation there, where we just kept standing on the rake and hitting ourselves in the face. And that was just kind of what it was in the second half. It was just a complete madness. It was really weird to watch.
Yeah, looking back at the game as well, and appreciate naturally a team who's getting beat at halftime is going to have 10 minutes in the first and probably 10 minutes in like the last 10 where they'll just go for it because they want to cause reaction, want to change the game state, and they'll want to have a big say in how the result's going to be probably in the end. But I was looking at the underlying numbers yesterday, and it just shows kind of Middlesbrough at their own downfall for a lot of the things. When we had 74% possession, a lot of it, our expected goals were way better than them. If you want to look at those metrics, they were expected to score 1.81. We had 2.65. We had big chances. We had good moments. We had a lot of big chances created. Same big chances created in terms of 3-on-3. They had 82 passes in the entire game and accurate, and we had 399. So all fun and games. It shows control, and it shows that we were just very, very sloppy in key moments. And I feel like there's stuff what we've seen like over the last few weeks, probably when Carrick's being in charge, that we've gave away like quite big moments. And Denny, I think you alluded to it on a previous podcast when you say we were giving big chances away, and it's kind of shown in the underlying numbers. That probably in like the last few game weeks, we had a big spike in expected goals against, but our expected goals for, like amount of goals and chances we're creating, it's always high, it's always improving, it's really high at the minute, and we're continuously creating chances and taking them, and it's amazing to have that. But defensively, this could be something, right, where like we weren't likely to concede many goals against Huddersfield, and probably in the first half we weren't. I think they had like an XG of like 0.19 or something. And didn't create much, but then we conceded a few. But has this been coming? Because like we've been given away big chances. We haven't been like we haven't given it away too much. We've scored more than the opposition. We've looked really comfortable, but there's always been that one or two key moment that we give away. And this could just be a game where like data has just went, you know what? I'm going to go against the complete norm. I'm going to football manager here, and they're going to have one or two chances and score 4 or 5. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's one of those weird games. But has this been coming? I don't really know. Maybe we've just been punished on one game, and then things might go back to normal. But the underlying numbers would probably show that Middlesbrough are really good going forward, but they are, suspect defensively at times, and that's something that we might have to pick up in the future. I think Brighton was a prime example. We got beat 5-1 where we showed like our defensive, struggles at times, but we'll see. I think in the stats yesterday are pretty misleading for a lot of fans. It's FM'd all over, and just we got to move on from it. I think, and I appreciate
our defense hasn't ever been the best part of this team, but it's never been that bad against Championship opposition. You mentioned Brighton there, but they're a Premier League team with an abundance of quality.
Amazing,
the Premier League game week after they defeated us in the Cup, they beat Liverpool. And I appreciate Liverpool are having a bit of a struggling season, but that doesn't mean that they're a rubbish team. They're still a very, very good side. Maybe it has been coming, maybe it has, but against Huddersfield, like if this happened against Burnley on Friday, you could put your hands up and say, fine, fair enough. If that's where our quest for second place ends, then it ends there. But Huddersfield... And I like Huddersfield. I do. I love the John Smith Stadium. I love going there. They're a fine team. I hate loads of teams and loads of fan bases in this division, by the way. But Huddersfield, I don't mind them. But they've been really poor this season. So for Boro to concede 4, nearly 5 against them, maybe it was coming, but it just stings that it's against Huddersfield and against Neil Warnock as well.
Yeah, look, these games happen. They happen to every team, every season, where you just have a game where you just fall off a cliff, and it's probably just worth nothing in the end. But is it, Tom? Is it a defeat really that's worth threatening over? Akpom scored 25 now, forced double figures. It's not the end of the world, right?
I'm feeling more like that this morning. I've had to rip up the Carrick-out banner that I already had made after the match yesterday, but. No, it's just a bit of a difficult one to take yesterday. It was a horrible game to watch. It's obviously had implications on the league table, and it's a bit. It's just a bit annoying that we're falling so far behind in the race for second because of that result. We've seen from this team before that we've got that bounce back ability. It's going to be the toughest test of that on Friday against Burnley. Hopefully we can put that right, and few results kind of go our way then and on Monday, and then we're potentially having a completely different opinion on the next podcast. But yeah, it's just hate sport at the moment, to be honest, Johnny.
Just don't look at any sport then, Tom. That's my one suggestion. Maybe go into baking or something. I feel like you could be a really good baker. Could do Great British Bake Off next year. No, okay, fair enough then. Don't do that then. Well, we'll move on, shall we? We'll move on to the Praise and Place, because the Praise and Place is the place where to give praise to Tuba Akpom, Marcus Foss, Tom's Victoria Sponge Cake, and Dana Malt's Tuba Akpom shirt, which is from teeside.co.uk. And it's a great shirt. I'm a big fan of this, so well done to Tom for his wonderful work. And also I want to give a shout out to the Motor Neurone Disease Association as well, because they're our fundraiser for this season. We are trying to raise funds for a really cool charity, and you can do that by scanning this on YouTube if you want to. If not, you can. The link is in our description below on your podcast provider, so you can donate there. But Dana Malt, who gets your place in the Praise and Place this week?
I'm gonna put Aaron Ramsey in there because I thought he was really, really bright yesterday, and he just keeps delivering good performances. And to be honest, in January when we brought in Barlasser and Ramsey and Archer, I wasn't really so excited about Ramsey because I didn't really think that he was going to start many games because of his injury. But he's delivered, and although he didn't have a goal contribution yesterday, I thought his link-up play with Cameron Archer in that first half and the appreciation of his teammates, I think is really good for such a young player. He's very intelligent. And it's just a shame that I think in the second half he did fade. I do also want to mention Akpom because don't let it get lost in the madness of yesterday's game. He still scored. I think he equaled John Hickton's season in, I can't remember when. Somebody will let me know.
Happened some time ago. It happened. We don't know when, but it did.
The thing is I had this in my notes before the international break, on the other side of the international break, I don't know. But yeah, 25 goals in the league is absolutely fantastic. And even though we've lost, to have a goal scorer in our team, excuse me, that is still scoring despite Boro losing yesterday, I think that's really, really important, especially against your promotion rivals. And Marcus Forss as well, getting double figures. That's fantastic. We've got one striker that's hit 20, another striker that's got double figures. What's going on? Is this Middlesbrough that we're watching? I mean, it wasn't yesterday, to be fair.
That was the Middlesbrough of old. To be honest, a game you're
Typical
expected
Boro.
expected lose a game you're expected to potentially win. Tom, who gets your place in the present place this week?
It was a difficult decision to pick someone, to be honest, because like I said, hate sport at the moment. Didn't want to give it to anyone after that performance yesterday. But I'm going to go with Akpom. I think to get a goal yesterday, he was still putting in 100% effort. You could see him trying to G the fans up as soon as he did score. And he's hit another milestone in 25 goals. We've been wanting for ages a striker who was going to hit 20 goals, and it was such a momentous occasion when he hit that. It was against Reading, because he got up to 21 against Reading, didn't he? And now to hit 25 as another milestone just keeps going. He's got five more to go until. We can officially say we've had a 30 goal a season striker playing for us, which I don't think any of us could have ever imagined in our lifetime. There's been plenty of records set in the past, but it didn't look like it was ever going to be likely to happen. I think so. Yeah, well done from getting that goal yesterday, and hopefully you can get another 5.
It was the 1970-71 season that John Hickton hit 25, so that's what Akpom's equaled.
Great, yeah, remember it well. Sorry, I was going to say no memory at all. But in terms of like Chuba, you unlocked 2 memories for me there, Tom. One was the moment where a kid had the ball and he thought Chuba was going to give him a high five when the ball went off for a goal kick. And he was like, "Give me the ball," and the kid was really looking for a high five, and it just cracked me up. And then secondly, the second one was a bit more of a boring one, but he's still on target to achieve 31 goals this season the way he's going. So congratulations to Chuba. Personally gets my place in the praising place. I don't know why that kid's high five cracks me up so much. But I would probably give it to Marcus Forss as well. I feel like he's doing really well at the moment. He's just so good. I mean, credit to him. Playing yesterday against Huddersfield, and then secondly, for him to go be in Australia. So yeah, it was decent. But we'll move on. Let's move on to questions then. Because each week you get to send us your questions via Twitter, email at theboroBreakdown@hotmail.com, or join our Telegram chat where you can join over 300 Boro fans chatting something about Boro, maybe not Boro at all, but we do chat about some things. And the first question is from LDGD, and he says, do you think the season has caught up with Hackney and is in need of a rest? He looks tired to me. Dana, do you want to take this first?
I think potentially. I mean, I will say that, and Maddo mentioned it on Tees when we were talking on it before the international break after the pressing game, that I think Hackney's performances have maybe dipped below his usual standard. It was still okay, he was still decent, but maybe there is a little bit of jadedness, if that's a word, in his performances. I mean, you've got somebody like Dan Barlasser that's practically breathing down his neck at this point, I would assume, trying to get into this team. So I think it's probably the right time to start rotating a couple of players potentially. I would like to see Barlasser start actually, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it's just he didn't have a great game yesterday, Hackney. It was his ball retention, looking after it, his tackles. He wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one that was guilty of that. But out of all the team, he's probably the easiest to take out of the firing line because he is such a young player that's obviously enjoying his debut season in the Championship. But yeah, he does. Maybe he does look tired. I don't know. I think he has looked poor the last game in particular.
Okay, then the next question it's from Rob, and it says, with the top two race clearly over now, how do we keep the positivity and momentum going into the end of the season? Tom, what do you think? How do we do all that stuff?
To be fair, I don't think it is over now. And as much as it is all doom and gloom at the moment, and it's completely understandable after yesterday, there's still 7 games left to play, 8 for Sheffield United. And, we could go into Easter weekend, win both our games. Sheffield United could lose both of theirs. And then, suddenly we're having a completely different conversation next week. So I wouldn't say it is completely over, but we can't just give up and, down tills or anything like that. We're still in a great position in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be the case of staying positive or anything like that, because Carrick's mantra that he says pretty much in every press conference is, "Oh, we just look ahead to the next game, take it game by game. We're not looking at the table or anything like that." And I think that is still going to be the attitude that we take. I think we'll go into Burnley thinking it's a brand new game. We're just aiming to win it, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. Not trying to sound like Carrick there, but that's I'm pretty sure that's the attitude that he will take for it. And who knows? Strange things have happened in football, and it could still look different this time next week, maybe.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I think when we're going like Good Friday and Easter Monday as well, like we could be chatting about like automatics again. I think it's so nuts that we'll keep going back and forth on this one, because like I don't know, we didn't expect to be there anyway, but now we're here. We are here. We want to do it. So it's just a very strange moment for us. But can we do it? I still think we can, because it as Grant Levitt famously once said, that's football, and it might happen. Who knows? But the final question, it's not really a question, it's a nice little segue. Because another Rob said, have you blocked that Sheffield United fan you're on League 72 with this week? Well, I haven't blocked Ollie, and we were chatting yesterday, and I gave him like the come down with me, enjoy the automatics, but yeah, what did we do over the international break? I was on the League 72 to chat about the automatics, and you can actually see the entire clip on the League 72 YouTube channel. It's called Sheffield United or Middlesbrough, the fans debate who goes up. So we thought we'll insert a little clip there of what we did and what we spoke about, and then you can see a little bit more in a bit. I don't think it really matters for us.
So pressure's on Sheffield United, do you think?
The pressure is entirely on Sheffield United. From where Middlesbrough were at the start, about 17 games in to now, we didn't expect to be here. Like, no one expected us to be here. So, like, to be in this position we're in is credit to the group, credit to where we are. If we get the automatics, fantastic. If not, then it's playoffs, and that's where like your heart will start to like break, because we've never won at Wembley, and also how the teams react when they don't get that automatic spot as well. So
Nottingham Forest reacted pretty well, didn't they?
They did, but it's also Middlesbrough we're talking about, Don. We don't do that. So
I was trying to be nice to you.
Yeah, I know, but it's me bantering with Don Goodman. All the fun. They actually, it was really good. Don and Prutz as well. They're really nice to speak to, and have a good chat with. And also a shout out to Sam as well. Sam, although I gave him a death stare at one point, he is a really, really good human being. But not only did we were on the League 72 this week, Dana, you went to the Middlesbrough Supporters Forum last week. How did it go? Is there anything of note or anything to report?
There is things of note. I don't know if I can say them, however. But yeah, that was so weird. I was having cheese souffle with Steve Gibson on a Wednesday evening. The cheese souffle was very nice as well, I have to add. But yeah, it was very good. It was, thanks to Mark for inviting me, Mark Motley. It was really good to see everyone else of Middlesbrough Supporters Forum. And it was just a really nice, open, transparent chat, really. It was serious at times, it was jovial at times, humorous, important. And when Carrick and Kieran Scott came in, and once I'd kind of stomach that. It was like, well, Steve Gibson's sitting about 4 seats down from me, so it was just very, very weird. But yeah, it was really, really good, and just a really calm confidence around. Obviously, this was before the Huddersfield game, so that was completely blown out of the room after that. But yeah, really, really nice. Kieran Scott. Kieran Scott noted the pink flamingo tie clip from this podcast, so it's if he's watching, hi Kieran. But yeah, really good, and I appreciate the invite.
Hi, Kieran. I'm on the YouTube. Look at me, I'm so famous. But yeah, great tie though, wasn't it? We really rocked that tie for the award evening, which we didn't win unfortunately, but it was a good night nevertheless. And it seems like you had a good time down. The food looked fantastic, and I got to meet Michael Carrick as well.
I probably malt cursed him. I met him, didn't I? So I probably malt cursed him.
As soon as you shook his hand and got a photo of him, the curse was passed on to Carrick. So thank you for ruining his managerial career. So thank you very much for that. And you never know, if you get a malt curse t-shirt, things might be a little bit better for him in the future. So if you want one, Michael, we'll send you on your way. Imagine just him waking up, getting some toasters thrown on his malt curse t-shirt. Must be funny. Anyway, let's move on to Good Friday now, where Boro welcome league leaders Burnley at the Riverside under the lights. So we spoke to Tom from No Nay Never podcast to get some insight on the Clarets this season.
Hi, Boro Breakdown podcast. This is Tom from the No Nay Never podcast. Looking forward to Friday's game, Middlesbrough v Burnley. It's obviously a big clash at the top of the table. I think with that defeat to Huddersfield, it's got even more significance now for Middlesbrough. For ourselves, the season's gone unbelievably well. Since we last played you, I don't think we've lost a game. Probably the only team in the league whose form has been better than Middlesbrough's, I would think, in that time. So it's going to be a difficult game for both of us, I think. We know that obviously with your result on Saturday, it means a win for us seals promotion. So there's quite a lot of incentive for us as well. And obviously for yourselves now, lost a bit of ground on Sheffield United. So I think with two teams that need the win going out swinging, it's going to be a really entertaining game, and it's going to be difficult to predict a winner. Players to look out for us at the minute, the informed player really is Nathan Teller. He's banging goals in left, right and centre. Although he didn't really get into the game on Friday night. Sunderland, they came for a point. They set up very deep, and we looked a little bit lethargic, a little bit sluggish. Probably the worst we've played for a while, and the least goal threat we've had for a while, certainly. So that probably should give you a little bit of confidence. I think the international break and just having a few players that have been out injured for a while, not quite up to speed yet, it might mean it's perhaps a good time to play us. So I would say, prediction-wise, I think it's probably a draw, I imagine. I think we might end up cancelling each other out, and a draw probably doesn't do either of us the favours, doesn't get us the promotion that we want, although it will give us the chance to do it at home the following game. For yourselves, of course, like you want to be picking up as many points as possible. Now you've lost a bit of ground on Sheffield United, but we play them the game after you, so if it is a draw, hopefully we can do you a favour in the next one and beat them. Should be a great game. Should be a great day out. We're bringing a few fans. Enjoy, and best of luck for the season. It'd be great to visit the Riverside again next year in the Premier League.
So thank you very much for that, Tom. And let's chat about Burnley, because they are the highest overperforming team in the league this season. If you look at the underlying numbers, they've got an expected goal difference of plus 21.4. And that's overperforming because of the goals scored. They were expected to score 54 goals this season so far, but they've scored 74 instead, so overperforming by 20. And that was kind of shown against us, really, when they scored 3 just absolute random goals. But yeah, they are overperforming as well in terms of points by plus 7 as well, where we've actually underperformed by 12. So we would actually be in the top 2 if we didn't underperform under Chris Wilder. So thank you very much for that, Chris. So after that as well, in terms of most likely conceding, where will Boro have the most impact in the game? Statistically speaking, that Burnley are more likely to concede between the 21st and the 30th minute, and in the last 15 minutes of the games where they've conceded most of their goals this season. As Tom alluded to, not our Tom, Burnley Tom, Nathan Teller has scored 17 goals this season. Josh Brownhill is the highest on FOTMob in terms of 7.8 rating. But I want you to keep an eye on their fullbacks. Ian Matson itself on the left-hand side has created the most chances for them this season. And they like to keep the ball on the ground, apart from the two centre halves, which love a long diag. So it'll be something to look out for, but they do have the highest pass completion of 82%, and that is reflected in the highest possession stats in the league with 63%. So what does all of that data mean? It means that they are very good. They're going to have a lot of the ball, and it'll be interesting to see how Boro approach this game. Will we see, and maybe the way we approached it against Swansea, where a team that likes to have possession, we dictated the game against them, or could we let them play and see how things turn out? But they will set up in a 4-2-3-1. Teller's moved more central in the last few games, with Brownhill dropping into that double pivot, and Ashley Barnes been playing up top instead of Jay Rodriguez. But they're a good side. Well done to Vincent Kompany and his team for getting to first. But how are we feeling about the game? Tom, how are you feeling, and what is your prediction?
Not confident, to be honest. I think I can remember a similar game on Good Friday where Wolves came to the Riverside, and they're chasing promotion at the time, and they beat us that day. So I feel like Good Friday is probably not a good day statistically for us. I'd be interested to see what the stats are, but not too confident. I'm still going to go with 1-1, but I'm thinking about what I said earlier, and this team's ability to bounce back after a loss. I just don't think we'll see it in the same way against Burnley. So I'll probably go Boro going 1-0 up, and then getting Burnley getting an equaliser and it finishing 1-1.
Dana, how are you feeling, and what is your prediction?
I'm quite excited, actually. I think this is the perfect setup for Boro to bounce back, being at home, being under the lights. I don't know why, there's just something really special about that at the Riverside. And also the way that, or the moment that Burnley are coming into this game, obviously getting tanked by Man City, I think you could kind of understand that. But then the draw against Sunderland, maybe, just maybe, we've got them at the right time. Now, that could age terribly. It probably will age terribly. But I am excited. I feel like this could be our David Nugent against Hull game of this season. I hope it is anyway. But I think we can bounce back. I am still confident. My confidence is not really being knocked, to be honest. I still believe in this team. I still think that this team can get the result again, and I think that we'll win this. I will. I'm going to go with 2-1. Late winner. I just want to see a late winner.
Goal scorer?
Scenes. Akpom. And
I know what Tom's going to say. I know what he's going to say. Go on.
I was going to say it'd be great if Akpom could score a penalty against him. Just to redeem that one from earlier in the season.
I was so wrong. I thought you were going to say Daryl Lenihan, 94th minute.
I'm going to say Lenihan. I am going to say Lenihan. I'm going to say Lenihan and Akpom.
Okay, then. And it'll be a 2-1 win, and we all go wild. I think it'll be a draw as well, Tom, to be honest. It's going to be a really difficult game. But like Middlesbrough, last year, Anderlecht capitulated so many times under Vincent Kompany. So I'm hoping this kind of comes back a little bit to the Burnley team. And you look, they are up, like, why don't you win it at home in front of your fans? Just do it for us, And it's revenge for Sheffield United beating you earlier in the season. So just play poor against us and beat Sheffield.
They've got a situation where they can gain automatic promotion against us if Luton lose or draw against Millwall earlier in that day, I believe. But maybe the footballing gods will say, no, we can shelve that. We can park it a little bit. You can have your automatic promotion clincher against whatever. It will be against Sheffield United, won't it? At Turf Moor. Maybe, just maybe, they'll let us have a result. And then they can get promoted after that.
Our footballing gods, do us a favour. But guys, thank you very much for joining me as always, and to listeners and the viewers, thank you very much for watching us and listening to us. And if you like this podcast, give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up, because that helps us get found and shared by other Boro fans. But for right now, Boro taste a bit of defeat at the John Smiths, but can they come good on Friday? This has been the Boro Breakdown podcast, and that was all your Boro Matchday chatter in a pod. Up the Boro Breakdown.